empathic, empathy. You have to put yourself in the shoes and the mind and the experience of whomever you're selling to. And you got to do it in two ways, I think. And I want you to comment on this. Way number one is that you got to walk from the beginning to the end, what it's like to be in their shoes. And then you got to decide what they're trying to go through, why they want, if they came to you, why they did. If you came to them, why they should take it serious. If they are evaluating you against other people, which almost definitely they are, what can you do, even if you're not aware of it, even if they're not telling you? How can your company, how can your product, how can your people, how can your product services stand out? That's a lot to unbundle, but why don't you just comment about some of that?
Yeah, I'd like to start by commenting on the thing about empathy. I'll take this to a different place just to explain and to draw an analogy. I once attended a seminar where they were from my college, where they sent us to a seminar in order to teach us how to be better lecturers. And the bottom line of the lecture was that in order to be perceived as a good lecturer, you don't really have to know a lot more than others in your field of expertise. You have to be perceived more empathic. And after I learned that, I worked on my empathy. I am empathic, but then I was very young and I didn't quite understand the consequences. And once I was more empathic to my students, miraculously, my surveys were up. I mean, the surveys from 1 to 5, one is very bad, five is is excellent. So I was always very close to 5, just because I became more empathic and put myself in the shoes of the average student. So empathy is definitely a way to be perceived more professional and to be perceived as someone who is more caring about your customers.
I
The
like
other
that.
question,
So
yeah.
wait. So tell people what you did differently. How did you shift your interactions or your communication or anything that made them see you to being more empathic?
So, for example, they would say, Vili, you gave us a deadline to submit a midterm assignment, and we have other courses, and all of them required us to submit the midterm assignment more or less on the same week. Can you give us an extra 3, 4, 5 days? I would say, sure, why not? I mean, I have no problem if you submitted 5 more days, so I would give them an extension. Or they would say something like, Vili, we're having difficulties with this or that topic in the course. So I would refer them to other resources and say, look, I really understand why this can be challenging, and these are sources that you can look at and use them in order to complement what I'm teaching you in the course. So I really try to put myself in their position as a student. I looked at myself as a student and not as a lecturer.
I like that. I like that. So let's let's take some of the other factors. So trust. And by the way, I don't think I have it. Maybe I do. Just 1 second. I might have it here too, but I don't think I do. Hold on. I'm fascinated with Stephen M.R. Covey, who's the world authority on business trust building, because I don't have it. He's broken trust into 13 characteristics, and he explains that almost nobody really consciously manifests or projects all 13. But if you really understand them, your trust level just explodes. What are some of the other psychological, transactional, communicational dynamics or factors that get people to buy instead of not?
So one of the major motivations is emotion. That's in the first place. And then there's the cognitive part. So basically, if you look at the massive body of research into psychology, into consumer psychology, you would learn that people buy based on emotion, or that's something that motivates them to buy, and they justify their purchases based on cognition. So, for example, let's say if we take the fashion industry, okay? many times people buy when they are depressed or when they have a bad mood, especially females. It happens a lot among females. So let's say that now in Israel it's quite hot. It's 29 degrees outside, 29 degrees centigrade. But there are some females who might buy a winter coat. Why? Because they were depressed, so they went shopping. And then they would come home and they would say, well, I don't really need it now, but it's already beginning of October and it starts raining around the end of November. So they justify it by saying, okay, well, winter is just around the corner. So emotion is definitely one of the major motivations to make purchases, regardless of whether it's the service industry or product